This is the all-new 2024 Lotus Emira. They're finally landing out here in the USA, and today I'm going to give you a tour of what has actually been put into the engineering of this mid-engine vehicle. Plus, I'll get behind the wheel to show you what it's like to drive. In front of me is the V6 equipped first edition, and it's got something that other mid-engine supercars and sports cars don't have, that being a manual transmission. So this blend, it looks like the perfect driver's car, so I can't wait to find out. Now, before I get straight into the content of covering the vehicle, real quickly, if you enjoy this type of content, please make sure to subscribe for many more videos like this, especially even at the track. Now, if you didn't know this, Emira actually stands for commander and leader in ancient language. At least that's what the Lotus team says. I haven't heard many people call that out, but now you know. This is going to be the final hoorah for Lotus and their gas-powered sports cars. Everything is shifting towards EVs right now, and this is going to be your last chance to get a gasoline or internal combustion engine-powered Lotus from here on out. The idea is throw all the Lotus DNA in a next generation car with brand new technology in the highest level of practicality yet. Right away, as you can tell, this definitely looks inspired by other Lotus models. Right away, it's got a lot of design cues from the hypercar, which means for being, well, nowhere near $1 million, it looks like it's worth $1 million on the street. Now, compared to the closest competitors this is aimed at, it's gonna be around the Porsche Cayman, maybe the C8 Corvette, but this offers something that those don't offer, and it's got the Lotus DNA. If you look back through all the different Lotus models we've seen in the past, with the Evora GT, the Exige, they've always been pure driver's cars, haven't they? They've had beautiful stick shift transmissions, and the chassis themselves with the drivetrain becomes one on the track. So I'm curious, with this new design language and also with their new ownership, are they still trying to keep to their roots? Some brands tend to move away from their roots if it's too niche. Going to the track and using performance to the maximum with feedback is something that is hard to find on the street, because everything you see is so focused on practicality. It seems like the team really did want to focus on improving the practicality, but keep the DNA there. So right away, talking about the design of this vehicle again, it is inspired off not only the Lotus Evija, but also fighter jets with the mean aggressive front end and the harsh but smooth corners and blades all around. Plus, moving out back, it kind of keeps that athletic stance going to the rear like a cheetah, which is something that we see a lot in the industry, because these shrink-wrapped bodies are formed by cutting through the air and showing off speed. Therefore, it doesn't look big, does it? It looks small. Yet I think it is kind of bigger than what we've seen in the past with the Lotus for sure. Anyways, let's start with the front. Let's go over the aerodynamics, also underneath with the chassis, then let's go to the engine out back. Finally, let's get behind the wheel. Okay, coming up to the front end of the Lotus Emira, I need to go over the design cues that's happening up here. So right away, as you can tell, you've got a lot of aero happening with the hood assembly with these dual exit blades right here where the venting is going straight out. There's no active aero on the Lotus Emira. It has purely passive aero. And from what I read, the team is pretty proud about what they've done here, because the vehicle is very stable and predictable and consistent, most importantly, consistent when it comes to the front to rear end downforce. There is a lot happening up front to produce that downforce. So let me explain to you what is really going on here with the sculpted design of the fascia and the hood. Right away, if I go even further forward, you can see how there are these massive air intakes with the side corners of the fascia, plus directly in the middle, there is another massive intake with a radiator out behind it. First off, right to my left, these corner intakes are actually feeding air directly through the front fascia and out of the hood. So So air is coming from the front of the vehicle out through the hood and is traveling backwards over the side fenders straight to the rear side intakes up high. The idea is to manipulate the airflow to give you enough suction pulling you down, but also create clean air going all the way to the sides of the vehicle. You have a massive radiator here in the middle, which looks really cool how far back it is, because for the first couple feet inside underneath this fascia, it's just flat. I'll show you a zoomed in shot over me speaking right now so you can see much better, because it's hard to see from a distance, but up close it's really cool how the radiator is actually slanted at a bit of an angle down below, way in the middle. I'm a big fan of the way the front splitter is kind of hidden away. It's very small and protruded with the black center section, and it's actually open briefly in the middle. Yep, airflow is actually traveling straight through this gap between the green paint job of the front bumper and then also this extended black lip of the front splitter. As you know, splitters are designed to help divert airflow from the front of the vehicle up top, but also if I walk to the sides, it's trying to divert air underneath. It's all about managing grip on the track for taking corners faster and faster. It's the reason why F1, they have so much downforce. It's because they need that to push down on these tires. Luckily, since we are testing out the sport model here today, I do have the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 R compound tires equipped, and it's got the even stiffer performance setup with the chassis. So this is a bonded and extruded aluminum chassis underneath all the body, and for the sport setup, what's going to be happening is that they've stiffened up the springs and the dampers to give you a really good configuration to maximize feedback, feel, and also agility on the racetrack. So for the suspension system, you do have Bilstein monotube dampers, and compared to this touring configuration, this is going to be even more stiff. And you also have Eibach springs. Interestingly, looking at these vertical LED headlights, they have these little wings, right? It's inspired by the twin blade setup from Lotus hypercars. I'm a big fan of that. It even says Emira on the far right of the top vertical headlight. There's so many nice details all throughout this massive headlight itself. I would only be worried though if it got chipped. I don't know how much this might cost to replace. If you're wondering though, there are little circles on the front bumper, and this is to give you a sensor. So when you're pulling into a parking spot, or let's say there's a trash can in front of you or to the sides, it'll beep at you to tell you that you're getting close for the body, it might actually hit it. My last favorite point to highlight on the front bumper is going to be this badge right here in the middle, because when you look at it, come on, that is total heritage right there for Lotus. I think the design, they really did nail the vehicle. Okay, we've got to talk about what is happening with the weight. Now, the ethos of Lotus, within their DNA, it's all about making a pure driver's car, whether it's on the track or on the road. And one of their many ways they strive to achieve this is by keeping weight down. When you look at this vehicle, it's got a curb weight of 1,400 kilograms, and in US conversion, it'll be around 3,100 pounds, which is really good. This weighs hundreds of pounds less than the C8 Corvette Stingray. Another really cool thing, which you'll see right now, let me head in the middle and sit down, right? So sitting all the way down, it's kind of rocky down here, but anyways, you're gonna get the point. If I put my arms all the way out and extend them, look, my arms can almost go from wheel arch to wheel arch. And it's because this has got a 101-inch wheelbase from the front center of the wheel over there to the rear wheels. This is about 4 inches longer than a Cayman, so it's gonna be a bit longer than the Cayman, and compared to even the Corvettes I used to have, it's significantly shorter. So the Corvettes are gonna be around 107 inches. So this is a small car, but it's not the smallest thing you can find on the road. A shorter wheelbase really helps you for turn-in on the track and on the road in the canyons, because you're able to get the vehicle to rotate in much faster because there's less of a travel that the back wheels and tires have to follow by the preceded front wheels when they turn. So for a canyon drive, it should make it very playful. I can't wait to find out. out. Speaking furthermore on the suspension of this vehicle, well, this has double wishbone suspension. This really helps the team be able to maximize contact patch on the ground for different road conditions. You find double wishbone suspensions on anything from McLarens to the Corvette again and the brand new 992 Porsche GT3. It's the right way to go. Interestingly, with the sport setup that we see here, with the stiffer springs and damper settings, they also go even further with more of a track-focused tow and camper setup for the vehicle, which should mean it'll feel night and day different, at least from my experience, when it comes to dialing in different compressions and rebounds, especially with creating more camber and tow. The way you'll feel the vehicle turn on the streets should change dramatically versus a more civilized and practical setup meant for you to enjoy the roads. So by no means is this going to be not practical anymore on the street. It's just going to take an even sportier tone. That's why I think they call it that instead of going, this is the R model, the race-only version, because it might turn off buyers. When you look at this platform, it seems like this will appeal to the widest range of Lotus buyers yet. Obviously, from a design standpoint, it looks beautiful with the shrink-wrapped body all over, from the front to the back. So coming up front, what else you have on the front suspension system is a wider track. This will help you with stability entering a corner because the tires and wheels are pushed further outwards, giving you a wider track for extra grip, and it's better for weight transfer as well. With the sport package, one thing I do like is that you can get Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. These tires will be very good for not only the street, but mainly the track as well, because they've got a stiffer sidewall and the compound within them, they're going to be an R compound tire. So you'll find these on many track specials out there, and what happens is that once you get them warmed up, they almost become like glue. They're not the stickiest tires out there, but what's going to happen is that when they're warmed up, this outer layer is just going to really get soft to give you better front turn and feel, and also same with the rear end for stability, especially getting on power. Up front, you do have 245 by 35 20s. Out back are going to be wider 295s, also on a 20-inch wheel. But let's talk about these brakes. They aren't too big, are they? You have to realize it's a smaller vehicle. These are going to be a unique offering for the braking department because they're not Brembos that you usually see off the shelf. These are going to be actual AP Racing brakes, which AP Racing is a really well-established company, and you'll find them on all sorts of race cars out there. So I do like how Lotus has partnered with them to produce the brakes on the Emira itself. They are going to be 4-piston calipers. Are they going to be enough? Will they feel good enough for the type of vehicle this is? I can't wait to find out. So now moving to the rear wheels, there's a lot of high-tech stuff going on out here. First off, let's talk about the tires again. There are LTS markings because it's designating Lotus tires. Therefore, when you go to buy one, let's say used, or you're just curious when you're buying a newer set of tires, it's important to get the Lotus tires if you want the specifically engineered compound itself for the car. Walking all the way out back, let's talk about what is happening with the rear side quarter panel Aero, and then I'm going to touch base on the differential. First off though, this three-dimensional side intake right here looks very aggressive. It looks elegant, and I think the entire car itself, when you examine all the different viewing angles that you have, it looks extremely elegant, doesn't it? So many vehicles coming out get to be bloated and very massive because they're trying to accommodate for every single lifestyle there is. It's kind of like trying to appease everyone or make everyone happy by having more storage space or making it physically larger. I believe these types of vehicles are the best, the most pure, when the designers and the engineers create a mindset that's very focused. This vehicle does have the Lotus DNA of design being focused in as small as this is. For example, if I come even closer, the door handle right here is blended perfectly with the body, so to push in and then pull out. There's no massive extruding door handle right here that is messing up with the beautiful flowing sculpture of the body. There are the available Goodyear F1 tires, which are very good. I've had some experience with them in the past, and I think Goodyear makes great products, especially on the track with their Goodyear F1 3Rs. Those are really good R compounds that rival the Cup 2s. This does have an interesting engineering setup out back. Well, there's an e-diff, and the e-diff will be applying brake pressure on the rear brakes for slow speed corners, or depending on what the vehicle decides in a corner, to maximize acceleration and traction. For example, on a slow speed corner, the e-diff will be applying pressure out back, brake pressure, to tighten up on the inside or the outside and help assist with getting on power. So when you get back on power, the vehicle itself will be able to maximize the traction it's developing. I've turned around the Lotus Emira so it's more towards the sunlight, so you can get a better idea of the rear lines of the fascia. First off though, I want to point out how these C-shaped LEDs are really streamlined up close underneath the rear trunk itself. It looks really good. Underneath this rear trunk, you do have 1/3 brake light right there hidden away in the middle. It's really cool seeing the rear tires right there on the other side of this vent. So air and rocks be flying outwards like this. You might want to PPF this or protect it because it might get really dirty or might get chips over time. It does have a custom rear diffuser. Check out these really cool diffuser blades on either side of the rear end of this Emira. This is pulling out air to create more downforce down low and create a suction effect. I'm a big fan of different diffuser blades, and this one is very, very nicely done. This has helped produce even more downforce for more consistency on track and stability. You do get massive dual pipes out back that give exit vents all over them. This is to ricochet the noise back at you in the driver's seat and to create a better pitch and tone with the exhaust system. Lifting up the rear engine compartment, I really like checking out this engine because sometimes these vehicles, the engines are completely hidden away, but with this you can actually get up close to it. Plus, for all of you enthusiasts out there, you can actually see an exposed throttle actuator out back. So maybe if you put a GoPro out back, you can see some movement. Really cool to see in this vehicle. Usually what you find in the industry is that these side air intakes beside motors that are mid-mounted, they feed air directly into the engine compartment to cool it down. But this is not actually connected openly to the engine compartment up top. It's actually feeding air down low through a piping system as an intake. To get access to your dipstick, you have to actually open up this compartment, and underneath is going to be your yellow dipstick handle to check your fluid levels for the oil. I'm curious what maintenance will be like over time, but the engine itself is supplied by Toyota with this vehicle, and then the 4-cylinder is going to be their highest horsepower 4-cylinder yet with 360 horsepower compared to 400 horsepower, and it's going to be supplied by Mercedes-AMG. Yes, you can get a dual clutch transmission with this vehicle, but I'm happy that we got the manual. Behind the mid-mounted V6 is going to be 151 liters of storage space with this trunk, and behind the two seats will be over 200 liters of storage. Let's see if I can fit my camera bag out here. It's a pretty big bag, and from what I can tell, it says right here, if I lower it, maximum allowable mass in the luggage compartment is 50 kilograms. That's a unique thing to have on the trunk. I really do like this Easter egg of a design. Do you see how there's a cutout behind the glass? Well, this is used to bring out hot air from the engine compartment. Instead of having big slices and cuts on the rear glass, this allows for air to escape, but not allow any water to land directly on your engine cover. Okay guys, well here we go, getting inside. I really am a fan of this interior, but first let me start off in the passenger seat because I want to show you a good vantage point of what all is happening in here. This is an upgrade. It looks so rich in here. It looks so driver focused. I can especially tell the Lotus DNA right here from the steering wheel because, as you know from Lotus's founder and all the generations of cars since then, a really keen interest has been placed on how close the shift or the gear lever can be to the steering wheel. The idea is you want it to be basically one hand length apart because it's easier for a fast gear change or just for the driver to really change the gears and be involved with the entire drivetrain. I'm a big fan of how condensed it feels, yet it still feels spacious. It's a really weird combination, not in a bad way, in a way that it feels tight and compact in here, yet roomy. Looking at the steering wheel, you have very nice perforations all over it, plus a 12 o'clock racing mark up top, and then some chrome with the Emira logo at the bottom of the steering wheel. Yeah, it's got the flat bottom, sporty accents, but up top, it kind of has a squircle design where it's not perfectly rounded off. It's actually slowing a bit down and going flat at the very center of the 12 o'clock mark. Sitting inside, you do have a 12.3-inch instrument cluster plus a 10-inch center display with actual Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's even another first edition badge right here on the dashboard. So this car does have 12-way adjustable heated power seats, full Alcantara up top on the headliner, and the sound system is a KEF sound system, which is going to be a 10-speaker, 560-watt sound system. My favorite view inside this cockpit is going to be looking at the 6-speed manual transmission, and then to the left of it on your screen, underneath, you can see the exposed linkage. This is a feature that you usually find, or a view you usually find on multi-million-dollar hypercars like Pagani's. Yet the team here decided they want a piece of it, and they put it in a $100,000 Lotus. If you have a passenger that really wants to watch, I guess they can bend all the way down and try to see when you shift gears, how that center gear lever is actually going to be moving all the bolts and notches down below to engage the next gear. I do like how every single AC vent actually has the Emira name directly in the middle, and they have this very nice brushed metal to give you a high quality feeling every time you go to move the vents. And the vents have a nice amount of stiffness. Let me hop in the driver's seat. Well, this is going to be your key to get inside. It says Lotus right here in the middle. It's very custom, very unique. I like how it's different than other vehicles on the road. Simply hit that button. One cool Easter egg to show off to your friends. It says, for the drivers. This is not for non-drivers. Push directly in on this indentation, then it pulls all the way out, and you're good to go. Very clean and very hidden away design. Just under 4,000 miles on the odometer on this brand new 2024 Emira. This steering wheel is very physically tiny looking at it. It doesn't seem too big. Here's my Hummer EV Special Yeti cup that I got during the Hummer EV special reveal I got access to a few years ago. It was really nice at a hangar, but let's see if this 20-liter Yeti will fit. Let's go to the front one first. Push it down. Okay. It's not going anywhere. It seems like it fits. Let's check out the back cup holder. Same deal. Goes a little bit down and it's snug. It's gonna work. And if you want to bring in a backpack or a laptop, there's plenty of space right here in the middle. Like I was saying, over 200 liters of space. You can even see barely right there in the middle, right? The V6 motor. One pet peeve I have is sometimes the rear mirrors get the plastic covers on either side, but luckily this goes all the way to the edge with the glass. If you're wondering, way down below right there is going to be where your USB connector will be, and then extra storage space if you want to drop the key right there. All right, here we go. I'm putting my foot on the clutch, foot on the brake. It's in neutral, cool. Down below, lift up this really cool cage and hit start. I like this display. It looks futuristic. It looks advanced. Looking directly towards this center infotainment system, it's telling us the tire pressure. It's at about 29, almost 30 up front, and 33 to 34 PSI out back. Looking to the left, it's telling us trip statistics. The highest gas mileage, or actually the average, is going to be around 24.7 mpg so far in the last 10 miles. How about the last 100 miles? Okay, that's not too bad. Average speed, 22 miles per hour. We gotta work on that. Let's go ahead and open up this page. Wow, that looks like it's shared with their neighbors, McLaren. The helmet on the driver or passenger right there on the AC system display. So if I touch it, it'll actually blow air directly towards me up top, or if I touch the bottom side of this circle, this pie, it's gonna be blowing air towards my feet. I love that Easter egg of having a racing helmet on the person sitting inside the car. There are gonna be heated seats like I mentioned earlier. Simply tap on the screen. You have 3 levels to adjust. Overall, it seems very straight to the point and simple, this display. Can I swipe left and right? So on the right side, I don't think I can. Let's go to the home page actually right now. Android Auto available. I like that. I like that. You have tire pressure again. You have a lap timer. Let's check that out. So I can actually hit start and it'll record lap times and tell us our best, our delta, what lap we're on, and our current timing. That's really cool. I think to the right, this will show us a graph to see if we are holding consistent times. Very cool feature, Lotus. I like how you included that. Let's go back to the home page and click on performance. Whoa, look at the downforce. That display is showing you the passive downforce you are getting with the vehicle. Then down low, you have an active power readout and torque readout, plus the boost. So this should be really cool to look at if you're in the passenger seat right next to me. Anyways, though, to the left, you're gonna have that G-force gauge. I'm curious what that looks like when you're driving. I might just leave this display on when I start driving very shortly. That's gonna wrap up the performance page for us. Let's see what else you have. So going to the right, you have trip statistics, your profile manager, and then navigation and media. So if I click on navigation, you should have full GPS. Yep, you can put on a home address, a work address. It shows you an unnamed road. Let's go back to that actually. Look at that. It actually has United Kingdom. Was this on the UK roads recently? Norwich, NR14, the 8th, United Kingdom. Says it's 545. It's definitely not 545 miles away. So this was driving around in the UK, I believe. Finally, let's check out the radio. You have Bluetooth. Down below, you can control the sound volume or hit play or pause on different radio songs. Finally, right here is your drive mode selector. To get in track mode, just simply push up one time. I can feel the seats vibrate even more. Wow, that's really cool. Let's open up that display again. It's showing us how exhaust is fully open, level 3, powertrain is level 3, and stability is at level 1. We're gonna see how this feels so far. I'm not sure it's idling higher or not. Let me check. So if I go back to the normal mode, the idle goes a bit down, but it does change the display. So this is Tour, and then this is gonna be Track. It got louder, the idle is even louder. This is cool. Okay, guys. Whoa! First drive in the brand new Lotus Emira V6 First Edition. Let me lower the rear view mirror a little bit. Oh, it's so cool. I can see the throttle actuator actually engage when I get on power through the rear view mirror. I've never seen a production car do that before. It sounds so loud in here with the supercharger. Just listen. Manual transmission is definitely interesting because as soon as I've gotten inside it just now, I can feel how the clutch does vibrate a bit when I engage and disengage, especially when I'm going through the gears. Let's turn off to get to a curvy road to my right, and let's just let it open up a little bit to feel how the balance and the characteristics come together out here. You really get to hear that supercharger whine right about now between, let's say, 3,000 to 4,000 RPM down low, like a rumble or like a drone. That's right, a drone just staying on at all times. It's got such a fast and linear throttle response. I think that's a really good reason as to why the team probably went towards a supercharged powertrain, because with a turbocharger, as you guys know and have heard about through countless videos or over the years, if you're familiar with the way turbos spool up, they inherently produce turbo lag sometimes if they're not effectively being spooled all the time. Therefore, when you get on power, you'll notice a curve where it's slowly then fast accelerating. This, though, it's extremely linear, just like a naturally aspirated V8. Right now, just driving in traffic, being in third gear, it's not too stiff in here. I'm driving in track mode right now, and the entire package is coming together very smoothly. The suspension, yeah, it's the sport configuration with the stiffer springs and dampers, yet it feels extremely comfortable and extremely livable. We have a short little tunnel right here. Let's just roll on the windows a little bit, just to get some supercharger whine and hear how it sounds. Everyone does this over here. Let's just give it a little bit of a pull. So downshift. Ho ho ho! Wow. Rev match. Rev max downshift. Wow. If I upshift to about fourth gear right now and stay here in tour mode, it feels a bit toned down. It's not as aggressive. It's not as lively with the throttle application. My favorite point of driving this vehicle is that you have an electro-hydraulic steering rack, which means when you get inside, this electro-hydraulic steering rack gives you such precise feedback. It's not your super electronic and tuned steering system where, yeah, it's high tech, but it does give you a substantial weight and feel being the driver. This, having that hydraulic aspect makes the car feel real. It makes it feel alive. I feel this sense of connection where I'm one with the car. It's an extension of me, like I'm extending my own arm out. That feeling of how natural it is exactly how this steering comes together. And welcome to beautiful Malibu, California. All these houses built alongside this hill overlooking the ocean. This is a prime location to be supercar spotting. I think this fits in perfectly. There are none really over here yet. As I mentioned towards the beginning of this video, deliveries will be happening very shortly out here, so expect to see them on the streets, and it fits just right in with all the exotic cars and the sports car scene out here in Southern California. The last time I was on track with a Lotus was in the Evora GT on Laguna Seca Raceway, and that vehicle, fundamentally, the chassis of that is pretty similar to this. You'll just find, compared to that, this just feels so next gen. I mean, that could be extremely dated, 20 years ago compared to this. I think this has got more sense of occasion, definitely, than the Cayman. This is the UK proper of, it just looks so exotic and unlike anything that you see here in America. Getting a feel for the Lotus Emira. Oh my gosh, this is a lively vehicle. So second gear, you can pretty much stay in this gear the entire time, and the torque curve, it feels really good for only having 400 horsepower. It's very torquey. It's got a ton of power in first. Let me go and upshift to second. Oh my gosh, that transmission gear change feels so well out here. This is a driver's car, guys. This is most definitely a driver's car. The suspension is very composed. I know it's more stiff with this model, yet it feels like it's not too stiff. It's matching perfectly up with the condition of this road out here for spirited, fun driving. You can definitely trail brake into corners, which is a really important thing to do when you want to smoothly transition the weight of the front nose in hard. So trail braking in, getting on power. It shows me that I really don't need 800 horsepower to have a blast. Oh gosh, let me roll up the windows a little bit more because it gets pretty windy inside the car. But going through the gears like that is so fun. Another highlight for the driver's experience is that no, there's no active rev matching. You gotta know what you're doing to drive fast and maximize your potential. When I go to this stop sign, clutch in, downshift, smoothly rev and let go of the clutch. It's as easy as that, guys. This shows me that when a brand really commits to keeping weight down and trying to enhance the purity of feedback, that can go perfectly with horsepower to create an all-around experience. I believe for the price point, you gotta realize this is over $100,000 now for this package. It's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but to be able to shift gears myself, to have an internal combustion engine Lotus before they go away, I think it's enough of a driving force to really warrant the efforts to get it. I don't know how many they're making out here for production right now. It's one thing I've not looked into. I definitely can guarantee you though, you won't be seeing this as many times as you'll see its competitors on the road. There's over 100,000 C8 Corvettes out so far. When I was filming the walk around, a nice lady walked up to me and told me that her daughter is named Elise. Get it? Lotus Elise? It's really incredible to bring a vehicle like this to America and get this type of attention. Man, the way it just carves the corners up, incredible. As to my complaints, I think the car could use a bit more horsepower, and if the gear ratios were a bit shorter, I would have more fun shifting gears more often. Okay guys, that's going to wrap up my time with the Lotus Emira. I hope you enjoyed this really in-depth coverage about this vehicle. Look at this view all around us right now. We are on top of one of the Malibu mountains, and this is where all your Hollywood actors probably live, like that person right there at that castle overlooking the view. It's so scenic up here. I think for the money, for the price point, this is a $105,000 sports car. It's a mid-engine sports car from the UK. And I think for having a manual transmission and being as bespoke as it looks, this is more of a driver's car than a lot of its competitors because of how engaging, raw, and natural it feels. It's an extension of you, and it doesn't need to throw too much horsepower at you. It's very livable, and you can experience its limits easily on the street. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really does help me out, and subscribe for much more great content coming out your way, especially at the track. I'll be back there very soon. That's where I love to be. And while you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're up to date on all the new content coming out. Thanks again. I'll see all of you in the next one. Let me know your thoughts about the Emira. Would you buy one, and would you take it over a C8 Corvette, a Porsche Cayman, and every other competitor within that price tier?